Hello and welcome. We're going to play a little bit of Shadow Empire, which is a turn-based strategy game, very in-depth, centered quite a lot around like combined arms, which is using like your infantry, tanks, artillery, airplanes all together. Or even helicopters, as well as logistics. So you can't just spam your units, send them anywhere you'd like. You actually have to like upkeep your and build your roads or railroads later on, that your troops can actually access all the supplies that they need. And I am not very knowledgeable about all of the many rules, but I have played a bit of this game, so we should be okay. I have the Oceania DLC installed, however, it introduces some aspects that are like basically unfinished, I believe, and that are just plain annoying and a little bit bugged, like creatures that can attack you from the sea, but you cannot attack them back because you cannot enter into any body of water. So we're not going to be using the Oceania DLC. Well, I guess I should explain that the very first step that we have to do when starting a new game is actually creating a planet that we're going to be playing on. And as we can see, there's quite a few different kind of planets, ranging from small barren moons, and we have the Seth class, which is a desert planet, also quite barren. And I believe the geology is not very interesting. They tend to be quite flat. Same with the Boreas, except that it's colder. And Cerberus is a lava planet, so maybe a little bit more interesting. And I think we might just try. Should we try a completely random map? Let's see what we get. And there are some other special rules that we can do. I will turn off the survival stress. I think I will turn the mayhem mode off because it tends to add a lot of micromanagement and a lot of waiting for the computer players to do their turns, because it's adds a lot of them. They are called, by the way, regimes in the game. There are minor ones that don't really develop anything. I think they just exist within a single town, have some small amount of very basic militia troops, and that's it for them, while the major regimes are just like our own player regime, which we can develop, build out, research new technologies, and so on. We are going to use the spread out, I think, or maybe not. It might be a bit more interesting earlier on if we get a marginal regime as our neighbor, so we'll just not use any of the special rules, because the spread out option would make sure that the major regimes are far away from each other, which is probably a little bit easier, but then the early game might be a bit boring. So we are going to start, and we're going to do a very technologically unadvanced start, and the story for these games, these scenarios, is that there was basically an interstellar war, an apocalypse, and your planet got hit, and there's not much left of it. Not many people stayed alive, and it's sort of a your Fallout, Mad Max, and so on post-apocalyptic situation where you have to build up your empire from nothing. Detailed planet generation. We'll keep the story modules on. We'll start at the tech level 3, which is the smallest one. Air forces are enabled, but Oceania is disabled. Development speed is normal. We start with one single city, but 2 armies, because otherwise we would only start with militia that has almost no fighting capabilities. That would make it a lot harder. We will only start with Supreme Command Council, while throughout the game we can unlock 8 councils, and they are like, for example, Economic Council, like military research, stuff like that, like unlock different possibilities and functions as the game goes on. We're going to do regular difficulty because I'm not very good at this game. We will not change the logistics or epochs, and we will give the AI more time to think. Let's continue on. That's very far away from the sun, 72.9 astronomical units. And if memory serves correct, one astronomical unit is how far Earth is from the sun. So that would be almost 73 times as far away, which makes it very cold. So let's maybe re-roll something a little bit better. This is a bit closer, and now it's very hot. And the gravity is quite low. The solar irradiance, it's I think watts per square meter, and it dictates how useful solar panels might be when we discover them in the game. A very young planet, so it's giving me some maybe lava vibes, like a primordial soup and stuff. Well, let's keep it, I guess, and we will see. We can restart if we find that we get a very hostile planet. Now we get some geology generated, and we can get our first look around the whole planet. It's a good amount of water, some rivers, some mountains, some volcanoes, it seems. And it's a good sized map, and it doesn't look too bad. Let's see, the wind speed is very small, the rainfall is quite tame, let's call it. I think this is maybe a little bit more than Earth's average, not sure. And we have a lot of seasons. The tropics are very, very hot, while the Arctic and Antarctic are a bit cold, but they seem to be livable. The highest mountain is 3.26 kilometer high, while the deepest seafloor is minus 269 meters, but that doesn't do anything for us, since we will not be able to go into the water anyway. And it's the same with the Oceania. By the way, you can only hire corporations to move your troops around, so there are no ships yet, although I believe that they are planned in the future. However, there is a DLC coming out this year, most likely. That's going to deal with some more political stuff, I believe. So there is no oxygen in the atmosphere, so it's toxic to humans, which is a bit odd, but the hazard exposure level is limited / no effects. farming hazard is toxic, so you can't have like open air farms, no vegetation. Let's see if we can reroll and get a more reasonable atmosphere, but it seems like we won't be able to. Yeah, it's always the same. I think that's not much heavy metals in the soil. The rain won't really matter, the pH, because we won't have any open air farms anyway. So let's continue on. And there are no life forms on this planet. And then there we have the colonization phase, which is like the historical, like logs, what happened on the planet. Mining company shows interest in the planet. Special deposits have been found, attracting much more mining companies. So we see, but actually it's 0% mining economy. Almost all services and a little bit agriculture, and around 1 billion humans population, and a penal colony was formed, but then came the dissolution war, which is the apocalyptic event that I mentioned earlier. We will see how many people out of this billion survived. Only around 2 million, so the vast majority died, and around half of them are scavengers, some are raiders, and around a third are farmers. And there are some further events that have happened over the years on the planet. Someone nuked a city, I'm assuming, by the name of Norazo, so that might mean that we will be able to encounter some ruins of this planet, which we'll be able to mine. Earthquakes destroy and wreck the towns of Okurtikor, Mulertius, and Soskali. And we have a summary of the planet, and we can start our game, which I will do in the next episode, but I think I will re-roll in the planet. I will create a new one, which I will show you at the beginning of the next episode, to something a little bit more interesting, maybe with some alien life forms, maybe a breathable atmosphere, and something that's not a very hot, desolate planet. See you then.